Greetings to stuff.
Wow!
I'm just like, introductions are hard.
It was greetings.
Greetings, fellow humans.
No, it was greetings.
Greetings, pause. Wait a minute, is this where we're starting? Oh, God help me.
Fucking hell.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Nottaku podcast, Spacemen of the Future.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. On this podcast, let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Lewis. I'm the podcast equivalent of Winry Rockbell, the really well characterized, but ultimately I don't advance the plot.
Oh God, my name is Hugh. I am the podcast equivalent of Sword Art Online. I am literally always there, and everybody has something to say about me.
I'm Ben, and I'm eating naan bread in a curry because I'm professional as fuck.
Yay.
I'm Joe, and I'm the equivalent of the token black character appearing in every JoJo arc.
Yay.
And I'm Alastair. I'm supposed to be the host of this podcast, but every one of these we do, I feel like I'm slipping from that role more and more.
He still thinks he hasn't slipped entirely.
Well, when you start the podcast by just saying greetings and then completely pausing, then yes.
Honestly, when you start off with the fucking emotion of Spock, we're like...
Oh dear.
I can already put the meme up of Ben's laughing. So.
Oh no, that's there always.
ready.
No. To be fair, he's tempered his laugh on this occasion. We'll have to wait until later on until I make a cracking rape joke relating to Goblin Slayer, and that really gets him fucking going.
Oh, I was going to say we're going to wait until he stopped eating the naan bread so his mouth's actually...
I was going to say the naan bread's in it right now, boys.
It's like a silencer.
You've literally come inbuilt with a fucking, like, Indian muffler.
Oh, Peshwari naan.
Peshwari muffler.
Garlic naans all the way.
I didn't buy them.
Alistair, what's this podcast all
Yeah,
about?
so the topic of this podcast, you can tell my voice is about to go again, is
Your testicles will drop one day, buddy.
is we are discussing our first impressions of
it's more than mid-season review.
Around about our fifth impression.
yeah, okay, first impressions, mid-season review of autumn anime 2018 or fall anime 2018 if you're American.
If you're a filthy American.
Man, way to split our consumer base of those 3 viewers.
Wow. wait, we've gained a viewer.
2 of it, to be fair, it's probably a sex bot again.
Oh dear.
Oh man. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the shows that we really, really like, and then a couple at the end that we think are terrible, but so terrible that they're actually quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joyous.
So, shall we just start things off with
Go
this,
for it.
and just basically go with we'll do 2 shows that are continuations of previous seasons. One is JoJo, which has come back for part 5 after how long has it been since JoJo?
Oh, a year and a half?
Year and a half. Not that long.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not been that long of a wait for JoJo Part 5. I'll let you guys chat about this, because I have not seen any of the other JoJo's, so I'm not watching this one. So.
The reason people have got this perception that JoJo took forever is because people who like JoJo are fucking thirsty for JoJo.
Oh,
I say this is someone who is thirsty AF for fucking Joseph Joestar. The thirst for Joestar.
Well, it was the fact that who's the company which currently do
David Production.
David Productions. Just after they did Diamonds Unbreakable, they moved on and did another 24-episode series whose name completely escapes me. It's the one about the resetting time and the guy that will remember everything.
ReZero?
No,
It's I can't remember what it's called.
Steins Gate?
No.
Gata HK?
Anyway, I'll look it up later.
I bought B-Blade Black?
So they did.
Coco.
Oh dear. So they did that, and while that was airing, that was getting absolutely blasted in the comments because people were just going,
"It's not JoJo."
Sagrada Reset. Sagrada Reset. Basically,
time to Google that.
Sagrada Reset. Basically, everyone was blasting it in the comment sections because it wasn't JoJo. Then they did Cells at Work last season, which was really good, and so everyone kind of forgave them because they knew Part 5 was coming, and now Part 5's here. And
then they got angry again because they didn't do the meme words right.
Oh dear.
That was more Crunchyroll, really. But yeah.
Genuinely, I'm really liking Part 5. I think it might have the strongest opening of any of the JoJo parts so far.
What, the guy being licked by another man?
Well, I'm not really talking about that bit. I'm just saying, like, in terms of...
sorry, I thought we were talking about Banana Fish.
This is going to be Ben for the entire podcast. He's going to bring the words banana fish up as much as he possibly can.
Fucking, we're there in Goblin Slayer, and it's like, oh, excuse me, I thought this was a different rape theme.
No, Goblin Slayer is also my baby.
I'm making it my mission to drop rape as much as I possibly can throughout the entirety of this podcast. I've been allowed.
Demonetization.
But
it's not the
checks.
Back to the current topic, guys.
But alright, calm down, ref. Fucking hell.
Oh no.
I'm dead. I like the dead metal.
Before we've
no, go on.
Oh, just before it's too much in the past, I just wanna make a comment about how David Productions makes me genuinely happy every time I hear it, because I just think it's just one guy in his basement just doing the entire thing, and he's just sat, and you just
please, Araki-kun.
David, what are you gonna do today? I'm going in my basement and drawing more JoJo.
He's there chained in Araki's basement, just like fucking God, please help me.
Every so often, someone walks in, throws another manga at him, goes do that, and walks out.
I'm not gonna lie. Like fucking, all right. So yeah, new JoJo is good, but I do like the way you've actually started talking about David Productions, because I think there's an interesting conversation there, and there's a little bit Birdman, isn't it? Just in the sense of like fucking, they did the one good meme thing. Then they clearly wanted to do their own thing, and everyone fucking despised it. But they actually stuck to their guns and made another thing of their own. And then everyone began to fetishize 6-year-olds, which is a success in the anime world.
It's true.
I don't know. It's a worthwhile discussion, really. I think just like, what do you do when you are the studio who just made something so... Well, the worst part is an adaptation that everyone loves. And it's like, what if you want to make your own stuff? I mean, the Attack on Titan lads had their own problem, and then they copied Attack on Titan, and it was wank.
Well, you do what Toby Fox has done.
It was good up until, like...
Yeah, so we do what Toby Fox has done and milk that cow.
And just reuse all of your sprites.
Yep.
Yeah, and rely on that name recognition. But no, like, I don't know, like, by opening, do you mean, like, first episodes, or do you mean Fighting Gold?
I'm talking the first 5 episodes. The first 5 episodes I thought were genuine, proper strong.
As much as I dislike the series as a whole, I think that definitely Stardust Crusaders had the strongest start of all the JoJos.
I think
the introduction of stands is just so fucking good.
Oh no, it's really good.
They knew what they were doing.
I think the issue I have with the Stardust Crusaders opening at the moment is the fact that Stardust Crusaders opening has been tainted by the fact that I was watching that thinking, oh, this is so incredibly good because the stands are really creative. It's really cool to see kind of this new idea coming in, and then it's like, this is a really cool new stand. This is a really cool new stand, and then the 58th new stand later, you're thinking.
It doesn't mean
we just sit with it for a bit.
Well, you see, I think it's all the more impressive by the fact that, like, you know, Part 5's got really interesting stands, right? But in Part 3 has got the worst stands of the entire series. You like in the first 5 episodes.
I'd argue 4 does.
Ooh, all right, we'll come back to that. Part 3 literally starts with Punch Ghost, Firebird, Insect. Tentacles that smash a camera and dude with sword.
You see, I would argue that Part 4 has the worst stands because we literally have Pylon.
Oh, cool! Oh, fuck it! Don't you think
that's cool?
Yes.
It's a pylon, but you can't leave.
Listen.
You can't leave.
Never forget the fact. Never forget the fact that there is a fly with superpowers called Grey Tower and a large grey structure called Superfly in season 3 and 4 respectively. Yep. No, like Part 5 is really good. Like,
also a sword. Like a literal sword.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that was rad as fuck. But
I quite like that.
But right, I will say this now. Fucking like. Am I allowed to spoil a minor thing? Like, I'm not gonna name names, but like, at some point, a gun is fired, right?
I know exactly what you mean.
I swear to fucking God, like, that is how all guns should sound in all fiction. It sounds like God slamming his car door, like, you get the brief tension curve of hearing the click, and then the man's brains splatter against the fucking wall, like a fucking Dali painting. It's fucking magic.
That episode is up there with my favourite episodes of JoJo. I thought that episode was stellar. Because I love the stand power that they were fighting against. I thought it was super interesting, super clever. I like how they fought it.
I like how Koichi's a cuck.
I liked how Koichi's basically useless in that fight.
He's useless, full stop. Now, like Echo's Act 2 is way more useful than Echo's Act 3.
Echo's Act 3 just is like, do you want to make something heavy? Boo, there you go, that's done.
S-H-I-T.
Anyway, then the ending where we have the whole like going back to the stand user, doing that sort of thing, the really genuinely interesting thing. I thought it was fantastic. I really, really, really liked that. However, I've got one nitpick. And I'm just going to say this now. Isn't any damage that's done to the stand supposed to be done to the user?
Yes.
I actually flagged that up when I fucking watched it. They brushed under the rug on a single line, which is because it's a long range stand. They don't feel as much of the fucking pain. I think this is Araki wrote himself into a corner and wanted more creative freedom. Not the first fucking time he's done this.
Which I'm genuinely fine with if he wants to change it, because I think it's really interesting, the idea of defeating a stand but not defeating the user. I think that's an interesting concept to come into it.
But then, of course, there was fucking Highway Star that was a long-range stand that got defeated because he managed to find it, and then he fucking punch-ghosted his way through. I fucking love Highway Star. The guy just fucking, like, he's got a good sense of smell. It's not even a stand thing. He just happens to have a good sense of smell.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, we were having this conversation a little while back on the thing, because I only actually finished Part 4 about a week before Part 5 started airing, and we were all describing that actually with Part 4 it's got the best episodes and the worst episodes, and I think Part 5, generally the reason why I'm really liking Part 5, and it's the reason why I unfortunately...
It's because it's JoJo.
Well, it's not just because it's JoJo. Part 4's issue to me was they didn't know the plot for about 2/3 of it. With Part 5, it's got a plot straight away. We know what we're doing. Red Hot Chili
Pepper is the best villain.
Oh god, don't. Literally, with Part 5, first episode, this is what we're doing. And maybe they're going to pull that from out the rug later on, but for now, I have an actual grasp on exactly what's at stake here, what we're doing, which characters are doing, which characters are which, and what's going to happen. And I really, really like that. It's the good feeling I got when I was watching Part 3, where it was essentially like, call me an old-fashioned style storyteller. I like a story where they sit down in the first like 4 or 5 episodes and goes, "This is the plot. We're going to have some twists and turns along the way, but this is the plot."
You mean, of course, Fate Zero that slapped his cock on the table that had 2 40-minute episodes of exposition. That's confidence.
But then Part 4 had the problem where it sat down and went, "It's the Part 4 of JoJo. Okay, what's the plot?" Well, this is Part 4 of JoJo. Yes, but what is the plot? Arrows? Yes, but what is the plot? And it didn't know. It just didn't know.
I just like playing the game with all the stands of what references this supposed to be that they've censored and way because they're so petrified of getting sued.
Oh, if it's censorship, is that why they're having to? Because
they're so petrified of being sued over it.
I genuinely didn't know that. I thought the manga had like changed the names in English, and that's why they were going for it. Is it generally because they're just scared of?
Yep. They are scared of being sued for the stuff because they're using others' intellectual property.
I did wonder why in Part 4 Killer Queen was Deadly Queen.
And fucking Crazy Diamond is Shining Diamond, you know.
You get some brilliant ones. Some of my favourites is Jean-Pierre Polnareff being changed to Jean-Pierre Eiffel in the games. My favourite one is Dirty Deeds Done Dirty.
Oh wait, what's that changed to? That's changed to
filthy acts at a reasonable price.
But doesn't? But if I remember correctly, in the game,
I told you this before.
Doesn't he say Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap?
Critically in tune to the song.
It pops up in subtitles.
They also do
filthy acts still at a reasonable price.
They do judge them dirt cheap in two different ways actually as well, because they also will occasionally just refer to it as D4C and then put underneath what the 4 Ds mean has been lost to time.
Oh god, this is one of those things, isn't it? But genuinely, moving back to part 5. Part 5 is really, really good. Like it's JoJo, so if you like JoJo, you're gonna like part 5. I think the characters are super interesting because we've got an entire season based around bad guys. Yeah, and I really like that.
It's the plot of Persona 5.
Yeah, I really like that. I genuinely really like that. Actually, like our main character, Giorno, his basic plot is he wants to be part of the mafia so we can bring it down. That's the plot we established in episodes 1 and 2. However, Giorno's a criminal. He does criminal things. He steals.
I'm not gonna lie. Right, I was going to mention this. This is my one issue with fucking part 5. Go on.
No. I'm just saying, like, literally, Giorno's a bad guy. Giorno is a villain. But he's a villain that we're being focused on who has a bit of a noble goal. And I really like the idea that actually what we're doing is we're going along the whole lines of villain has a goal that you can somewhat sympathize with, but we're focusing specifically on him. So as a result, you're more likely to feel, actually, yeah, he's right. So he's doing some horrible things. He literally nicks a car in episode 1. But because he's kind of got this noble goal, you're more willing to go along with him. And I really actually quite like that. He literally, I was going to spoil something there. I'm not going to spoil anything there. I'm going to back away from that.
Right, number 1, right? No, villains with a noble goal. JoJo's got a fine history of this, of vampire who wants to live forever and man who wants to murder women. I can respect both of these goals.
Oh god!
But here we go again.
And dude who wants to be perfect.
Dude who wants to be bird.
Yeah, yes. dude who wish bird, dude who want bird, who like plant and dog. But like fucking, but no, I've got an issue with this, and like fucking, I've been memeing about it in our own fucking little chats. The fucking fetishization of fucking gang stars to the point where it's the same thing that's happened with pirates, where it's like, oh look how fucking cool and noble. It's like, no, they're fucking not. They're assholes. Like fucking, what does Giorno fucking Joestar get to fucking turn around and go, oh, you know what? I like you. You're a nice person. I'm gonna let you join my gang, where I become a gang to defeat a gang by doing horrible things and killing people. And it's like, fuck off, you don't get to be picky, you're a fucking gang star.
I think the issue is as well, the UK is having a big issue with gangs at the moment, and so I like what they're doing in JoJo's Part 5, but I am finding the gang aspect a little bit
people have forgotten that fucking gangs are about making money and killing people, like fucking, you know. And the thing is, if you're straightforward and honest about that and present your gang as the villains that they are, you could still make good fucking gangs.
I think that's what they're trying to do, but I think they're not doing it well enough yet.
No, because they're like, oh, that Giovanna, he's so nice stealing fucking, like clearly deformed Japanese midget's luggage and passport. Like, fucking, what a good guy. And it's like, what the fuck? And it's like, oh, he didn't want that old man to die. Well, no, most gangsters don't want old men to die. You know what fucking, like, gangsters do, though? They do steal money from innocent people and blow the brains out of fucking severely deformed, overweight people. Like, you know.
So, guys, what we're saying is, Red Dead Redemption 2 ripped off JoJo Part 5.
Yes.
And on that note, I think, unless anyone has anything else to say, I think that's JoJo Part 5 pretty much.
The typical, how are people finding the art style? I know it's the same as the previous one, but yeah, color palette and art style is always something to talk about with JoJo.
No, it's not the same critically. Like they've gone along with Iraqi style as it's gone on, which is an impressive dedication to the adaptation.
I like the way it looks. I like the fact that actually it's got a very interesting and unique art style.
It continues soft edges.
Yes,
nice.
I like that. I like Giorno's design of having like a very dark black in a lot of the curvatures of his hair and his cheeks. I like that really quite a lot because it makes him stand out. He doesn't just seem like a soft face, soft haired protagonist like a lot of protagonists in anime end up becoming. I like that.
I will say, just a quick spoiler actually, Dracula's a vampire in Castlevania. And I'm done. Sorry about that. Also, Trevor Belmont is a Belmont. I know. Just...
And
I thought Dracula was a lizard man and Trevor Belmont was a
Belmont.
Trevor
Belmont.
Oh my!
You northern showing.
Oh no, my northern showing.
I mean,
put it away. Put it away.
I thought the Banana Fish was about gay men.
Trevor Belmont.
I think
Hugh, can you please stop spoiling the fact that gay men are gay? We've known this for at least 20 years since Konami confirmed it.
Oh, good point. Good point. In that piece they stole from Kotaku.
That was the true Konami.
Oh, that left right gay way.
And that's the end of JoJo's Part 5. Alastair, would you like to move us on?
Sure thing. All I'll say towards that conversation is that once again it's shown me that if you don't know anything about JoJo, as in you have not watched it, and you just hear a conversation about JoJo, you will just end up being even more confused.
Oh yeah. It's going to be
just so many random things. Oh, there's a thing, and then what?
Alastair, literally just think of what part of JoJo you're on, and just think what is the equivalent Persona game, and that is actually the best I can do for someone who hasn't watched JoJo but has played Persona.
Remember that Persona where that monkey got the ability to summon a fucking boat?
I would like to point out, Ben, it's not a monkey.
It's an orangutan.
It's not a monkey.
It's an orangutan, yes.
You finally made a simian out of you.
Yeah, looks like my lesson's good. No, see, the thing is, that's how this occurred to me as well, because I was like, what does Part 5 match up with? I want to become a phantom thief. Oh, fuck. I want to be a gangster.
Fabulously good-looking teenagers becoming a gang and causing societal reform.
Selling drugs to minors.
Man, it's hardly societal reform. It's just like one place in Italy.
It's just
that's all we need.
It's just one city in Persona.
No, it's some bald cunt. It's not even that big.
Yeah.
Alastair, move us on.
Anyway, moving on to another show that has come back after being away for a few...
over.
Yeah, and probably, arguably, in the general population of people who watch anime, is the most anticipated show of the season, even though we probably don't want it to be.
No, it's not. Goblin Slayer was.
I'd say Goblin Slayer. I would say Goblin
Art
Slayer and Sword Art were a close combination.
It depends which part of the community you talk to, but yeah.
True.
The one that matters.
The correct one.
Anyway, yes, so we're talking about Sword Art Online because we kind of have to, because it's a thing that is there, even though we may not want it to be there. I don't
give a shit.
I'm watching
perfectly okay with it.
And
sure, why not, man?
I think this is so far it's been one of the strongest seasons/arcs of Sword Art Online so far.
I really
that's not hard.
You see, I've realized my problem.
Which
with Sword Art Online compared to the rest of the community, because I wasn't enjoying this season of Sword Art Online until the most recent 2 episodes, and somebody at which point Ben's laughing because he's realised this.
Is it the total lack of Asuna as a character?
No, it's not. Literally, I came back on. I went onto the internet and went, "Oh, I'm not really enjoying this. I wonder why." And I went onto the internet and I realised something. I didn't enjoy the bits that weren't like old Sword Art, and I enjoyed the bits that were like old Sword Art. I like old Sword Art Online more than I like new Sword Art Online, and I feel dirty for saying it.
Well, I thought
that
was the most common opinion.
Yeah, see, I agree with that, because the start of Sword Art Online, the first 12 episodes, were great.
I'm talking literally the current consensus online is that the episodes where Kirito's kind of with the new people, they're kind of doing the whole exploring of the world and that sort of thing, is really good and interesting. So the first 20 minutes of the first episode, everybody thought was really good, and then it goes into being Sword Art, and everyone was like, and it's fallen off the cliff again. I thought the opposite. I was like, I'm a bit bored of this first 20 minutes, then it went back into normal Sword Art, and I'm like, now I'm interested. And I realised that I'm literally in the minority here, and I feel really bad because I'm literally like
He's realised he likes Sword Art Online for what it is.
I literally have, and the problem is I know Sword Art Online at times is terrible, but like I'm literally, it's entertaining.
Yeah, no, it is fun.
It's super entertaining.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's written terribly at times.
It's popcorn anime.
Fun.
Yeah,
like,
it's fun. It's the word to describe it. Sword Art Online is fun.
It looks fun. Its voice acting is just bad enough to be funny, and like you're good to go. Like,
but it's like, the three of us are gonna go on a journey to this part, and I'm just like, when's the fighting going to happen? And then the fighting doesn't happen. And I'm like, I get that we're world building, but you're Sword Art Online, you're not known for world building.
Well,
pull out a sword for like 5 seconds, please.
Well,
give me something.
Apparently, as you all enlightened me to earlier, 50 episodes.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's 225.
So this Sword Art Online season is going to be 50 episodes long?
Oh no, 225.
225.
You mean the
Stardust Crusaders?
You mean the standard anime length?
If they do what they've done with like what previous arcs, which is the equivalent of around about two volumes of the book to each like half season. Yeah, they're looking to. Yeah, it'll probably be these 50 episodes, and then maybe another round. Honestly,
they have confirmed that they are doing all of it as well.
Yeah, they're doing all of this arc, so it'll be at least 50 in total.
As Shaft have confirmed, they're going to animate all of Monogatari. A1 Pictures have confirmed they're animating all of Sword Art Online.
I care about Monogatari more.
Oh no, absolutely. But there we go. Also, I'd like to point out, Ben, did you hear that the Monogatari movie is third longest anime movie of all time?
Actually,
it's like 148 minutes long. Anyway, that's an aside.
Second only to Spirited Away in my hentai collection.
Well, the number one, I believe, is
I don't fucking know.
Spirited Away is only like an hour.
If I'm being honest, the Spirited Away was not the part of that joke you should.
Yeah. But in response to what you were saying, in response to what you were saying before, Hugh, about you prefer all the 5 minutes of swordy stuff. I will say that for people who are actually fans of Sword Art Online who want that, I'm trying to be nice here, Lewis.
That's fine. I like Sword Art Online. It's fine.
I don't like Sword Art Online.
Wait, when have I ever said I didn't like Sword Art Online? Just because I hate everything.
He's on record as saying, I think we all like Sword Art Online.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, just because I hate everything doesn't mean I hate everything.
I would like to point out the longest ever anime movie is Ramayana, The Legend of Prince Rama. Then it's Final Yamato. Then it's the disappearance.
Where can I see that? What?
Anyway,
back to actually the topic at hand.
Fuck the topic on hand. Let's do a live watch of Ramayana.
Right. I'm gonna move us on, but I'm gonna drop one thing in here. The main guy's played by Bryan Cranston.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
So seriously, I've said what I like. What do you guys think about the new Sword Art, genuinely? Because I know I'm in the minority here.
I think it's alright.
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's probably up there in terms of quality-wise for me, like the first arc and Mother's Rosario. It's in like that top bit rather than the other bit.
Well, I'm a weird one because I kind of like the second arc of first season.
I found it interesting.
I found it interesting, and I found the fact that there was suddenly stuff outside of it as well that they linked in. I quite liked the way that worked because it also added in the conflict bits of like where he attacks him in the parking lot.
Oh, that's
well, no, that's the best really good scene. That's the best scene of that arc.
Because you also get to see the neural feedback from the fucking gear, and it makes you wonder what fucking government allowed this to get past any form of health and safety.
I enjoyed the second arc. I thought the second arc was fun, like it was enjoyable, and
Think
like you
about
said, that
was
scene
really
at the
good.
end of the second arc on the outside is great. Like that's one of the best scenes. But
that season is when Sword Art went from being an interesting premise to just being dumb fun.
Yes.
yeah,
And I like the dumb fun part of Sword Art.
You know the
and I
moment
don't think Sword Art can build, unfortunately, anything else.
I'll tell you what, Hugh, I can pinpoint the exact moment looking back at it when I think it through, that it's like, what the fuck were they thinking with this at some point? Is when they just decided, alright, so we've got to have some guys working within the game fixing stuff and being like in-game engineers. What will they be? Well, clearly they're giant tentacle monsters.
Yeah, definitely.
See, Sword Art Online for me has always had an interesting spot because I really, really like the first 13 episodes, as most people should, and then the rest of it's kind of just like schlocky fun for me. But the reason the series, I think everyone can generally agree, the Sword Art Online went from great to fine, good if you're into that sort of thing, and everyone can agree that it occasionally has some really good bits. And the unfortunate fact is, no matter what your opinion on Sword Art Online is, the reason I like it, the reason I find it infectiously likable, is even when it's being dumb as fuck, it is seriously a labor of love. Like, people really fucking care about making that thing. It's like a fucking, it's the anime equivalent of a kid walking in wearing like big boy pants that are just pissed in, and it's like, I'm a real anime now, and you're like, of course you are, Sword Art Online, and you can't help but love it. You know,
I'd argue it to be the equivalent of a B movie that everybody on set has properly gone for. It's a bit terrible. It's funny to watch. You can see the boom mic in the shots, and you can tell when stuff's been like a first take. But it's so fun to watch, and I like Sword Art for that. I genuinely do.
No, Sword Art is a lot of fun.
And occasionally Bela Lugosi appears and actually does a good bit.
I also love it
See,
for
gets
what
that fucking reference. Jesus
I love it for what, in my mind, I will describe as them having the balls to do, which could also just be laziness on writing part, but I like to think it's the balls to do it, of having the villain, like, at the end of the first arc, just being like, why the fuck did you do all this? And he's like, bitch, it's been 2 years, I can't fucking remember.
Fucking no.
You see, I
that was my biggest gripe of that.
I had a gripe with that. The perfect thing I've seen from that is the abridged series.
Yep.
The abridged series, because the abridged series is actually
let's
really good.
Let's not get into the abridged series. That is genuinely a whole podcast worth of topic.
But generally, go watch the Sword Art Online bridge series, where the whole reason was it's deadline day. You get a bit crazy. You stay up for 90 odd hours, and you think that trapping everyone in a video game is your best way out.
Well, look, tell you what,
that's funny.
We'll tell you what.
Funny.
Seeing as how we're already on spoilers, just a quick spoiler. Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards.
For God's sake.
You can say, oh, for fuck's sake, I had a character in one of my D&Ds called Alucard.
That was
took the players over half of the campaign to realise, fuck, the vampire guy's Dracula spelled backwards.
Don't say guys, don't implicate me in that bullshit. I was onto you day one.
Lewis can back me up on this. Lewis, was it only last year that I realised that Shaun of the Dead is a parody on Dawn of the Dead?
Yes, it was. I remember we came in one winter, and we were both tired as fuck. I remember you said that, and I was like, this day could not possibly get any weirder.
Genuine question based around the new Sword Art. So, for those of you that haven't watched it, you're probably not going to watch it. But for those of you who have watched it, you may have noticed that the art style is that of the movie, the actual proper movie, whose name I've forgotten.
Ordinal Scale.
Ordinal Scale. I watched half of Ordinal Scale. I didn't enjoy it. I need to rewatch it.
Man,
anyway, the art.
By the Blu-ray, there might be Asuna's nipples.
Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, Ben would know.
No. The director genuinely came out saying, because there's an infamous bath scene with Asuna in the movie, and they said, oh, in the Blu-ray, we might show Asuna's nipples. The Blu-ray came out, they didn't show Asuna's nipples. And he was like, well, I said we might.
That's brilliant. So, genuine question, what do you think about the change of art style from the art style of seasons 1 and 2 to the art style of the movie? What your thoughts on that? Because
neither here or there, really, for me. It's the change isn't that drastic. Like I think it is.
You see, I think it is quite drastic, because if you get up a picture of what it looks like before and after, I think actually it's a lot sharper, as Ben says.
Yeah.
I think it feels like it's gone a bit more upmarket,
Well,
even though it absolutely hasn't.
Well, what it feels like to me when I like the first thing that I thought, and that's probably because it's the same art style as the movie rather than the show, is it makes it look a bit more like it looks like it's had a higher budget, even though it hasn't. If that makes sense. I
agree.
Like it looks movie quality, but that's because it's using the same art style as the movie.
I agree. It does look sharper, and I think that's a good thing. Without going into spoilers, because of certain things that they will be having to animate, it needed to be sharper. Like I would just say that there is stuff that will happen that they need to do in pretty exacting detail, actually.
Yeah, but I just wanted to bring that out there because it's the biggest thing I noticed with the change of season was that changed art style, and I did actually quite like the change in art style. I will admit.
Did the games cutscenes follow more of a new art style or the old one? Because I'm trying to remember them in my head.
Games have very different.
They're their own thing.
A lot of the game's cutscenes though are 3D animated.
Yeah.
Well, no, like I'm thinking on it because I'm thinking of like specific character designs and stuff because during all of the conversations and stuff they're all 2D sprites.
I mean, all I can remember about the games is that you can make your own character. So my character is 8 foot tall, green hair.
Yeah, you could make your own character, but then it would force you to look like Kirito in some cutscenes.
And also you talk like Kirito, and they still call you Kirito.
I often just made myself look like Kirito because I was like, well, what's the fucking point? Whenever I see any cutscene, and it suddenly just makes me into Kirito magically.
Yeah, I can see that. It's one of the big problems.
The other big problem with all the games is it doesn't let you romance the true waifu of Klein.
I mean, it's also.
Oh no, it does. You can take Klein to bed.
You can take him to bed. You can't romance him.
I mean, I think there's also the problem that the game's just on.
Why not just Goblin Slayer him? You didn't put that joke in your heads.
I mean,
I didn't say anything.
The other thing.
Wait, no, shouldn't that be why not just Goblin him? Because Goblin Slayer him would be ignore any potential romantic interest permanently in favor of hunting goblins.
I meant what I said.
Goblin Slayers later on. Let's leave that for now.
What?
But since we're joking, I think we've probably finished Sword Art, aren't we?
I mean, I've got one more thing to actually point out, which is with this season. Apparently, I don't know this, but I have heard from other people who have read the light novels. They have added extra anime original scenes into the anime to add more context to stuff.
And they will be terrible.
Actually, no, because one of them was actually in the most recent episode. I can't really say it without spoiling which one it is, but it is one that actually kind of adds a lot more to, like, it's a really good scene that adds a lot more to, like, stuff.
I'm thinking
they're like minor scenes.
I can't think of a really good scene.
There's like it's like minor changes. It's not like massive entire episodes. It's like individual like minor scenes that add just a bit more context.
It's not like what Black Clover did and put in backstory in episodes 2 and 3.
No, it's not like that. It's like literally like adding an extra like minute scene here or there that just gives you a bit more info. I'm fine with that. Like it's nothing like, oh, here's an entire episode of anime original content. No, it's not that. It's literally these are little hidbit scenes that are just like added to just round it out a bit more.
Yeah. Alistair, you want to talk about Bunny Girl Senpai, don't you?
Yes, I want to talk about Bunny Girl Senpai because
Hugh, does that mean you've not seen it?
I have seen it, because I have something to say about it. I'm going to let Alistair talk first, though, because this is the one that he was rabid to talk about.
Well, no, I want to talk about Bunny Girl Senpai for one big reason. Well, the full title is Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai or something.
It is. Oh, no, this is what you were going to say, sorry.
Yeah, basically, the title of the show and the image of the show are complete misadvertising of what the show actually is, because it makes you think this thing is an ecchi, when in actual fact it's basically Monogatari 2.0.
Right.
Producers have no confidence in their products.
It is literally Monogatari 2.0, and I'm going to tell you exactly why it's Monogatari 2.0. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've got here is a main character with a little sister. The main character has previously, in his life, had a run-in with a supernatural ability, which has left him with some kind of permanent disfigurement that he is a bit cautious of. He then meets a a senpai from his school who also is being dealt with by some kind of supernatural problem that no one else knows about except for him. He then goes off to try and help her out. Once he has finished helping her out, he then moves on to start helping other girls who are also having similar problems with supernatural things.
Yeah, he has the continue entangled romantic part immediately defined within the first 3 episodes to one girl.
Yeah.
It's literally Monogatari. It's Monogatari
without really extensive
without the weird stuff. Without the weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's really
it's a Gen X Monogatari.
Yeah.
It's
very like as you were saying with JoJo earlier, it's like it's one of the like strongest like openings of JoJo's that you've seen. For this, the first 3 episodes, like you could literally watch the first 3 episodes of this as a movie and it would be amazing and fine. And it's like definitely the strongest first 3 episodes of a show, probably definitely for me this season, if not this year, for me as the first 3 episodes only.
Megalobox.
I didn't like Megalobox.
Fair enough. For me, it's Megalobox. When I watched that first episode of Bunny Girl Senpai, I thought this is a bit weird, the whole Bunny Girl thing, and it basically is Monogatari. By the end of episode 3, I was in. I really like this show.
I was in episode 2. Like episode 2 really got me.
I prefer Monogatari
infinitely.
I would say this is Monogatari, but they've taken out the weird stuff and they've added more comedy, is what I would say. They've also taken out a lot of the conversation.
Yeah.
This is what it essentially is. It's less conversation, more comedy, and less weird stuff.
It's Monogatari light.
It's very good. It is Monogatari light. I agree. It's good.
That's what it is, and it's very good. I'm wanting to see how they resolve the next like arc, as in the next girl, to kind of like actually fully get an opinion on this, because the first 3 episodes are great and they would be great on its own. It's whether it can kind of hold up the quality when dealing with other girls who aren't the love interest, essentially. So
what I'm really liking about it is it's quite refreshing character dynamics, because say what you want about anime, I love anime, I really do. One of the big issues anime has is its characters fall into tropes.
Yeah.
And they fall into tropes way too quickly. Bunny Girl Senpai does not have that problem, because it's distinctly built its characters up from the ground. It's not gone, this is going to be the tsundere, this is going to be the kohai, this is going to be the so-and-so, with the exception of the little sister. The little sister is a little sister character. But the rest of the characters are all built up as actual normal characters, and they've got really refreshing character dynamics. The main character and the senpai, the main character whose name I completely forget, I'm perfectly honest. I know.
Araragi.
I know. Oh yeah, we're going to call Araragi 2 Electric Boogaloo, and his senpai, who I do remember is Sakuraji Omai, because I like long names. They've got a really interesting character dynamic, because actually it's like the Senjo Gahara Araragi interaction, but with the roles reversed, where actually the guy's a lot more flirty with the girl gets embarrassed. There's kind of like that to and fro that actually works really well. I generally think it's super refreshing.
If I may make my only comment in the entirety of this, because I've actually seen about a minute to like the idea there's the two of them reversed, where fucking the girl's more embarrassed and the man's mentally ill.
And the man's just there stapling her cheek, and she's like, "Oh yes, senpai, yes."
Yeah, and the man's mentally ill, and only stays with the girl because he's written to do so. Fight me.
And the girl's there with weirdly obsessed siblings.
Fight me.
I will fight you for that jab at Araragi and Senjo Gahara.
Man, that scene when they're sound of the stars, that wasn't contrived. Fight me.
I am proper hate you right now.
I've never been. My blood is boiling.
You've managed to annoy 2/5 of the podcast quite badly right now.
Right, let me just do a third one. All right, hang on. All right.
Is Alucard
I swear to God, if you say anything about Kaiki, I will run to Stoke-on-Trent.
And I swear to God, if you say anything about Canberra, me and you are going to have a fight when I get there on Saturday.
Stick with me on this, right? What's the 3 films? Is it fucking
Kizumonogatari? Don't you bloody dare!
Kizumonogatari, right? These films are really fucking good, and they're let down by that one overlong perverted scene, which really ruined the tone for me. The rest of the
No, I agree. Actually, honestly,
Yep.
I agree.
Also, Kaiki's a cuck.
Bunny Girl Senpai.
The only person Kaiki cooks is himself.
How perfect.
Alastair.
Still a cock.
Bunny Girl Senpai, for you, how are you finding the second arc? Because
so far, I'm enjoying the second arc. I was worried when it's like before, because I knew after the third episode, I was like, okay, we've solved the first girl's problem. I knew, like, okay, this could be an issue. Is it going to hold up the same quality? Because we're now going into another girl that isn't the one that I'm interested in, like the main one that I want to know more about. However, the way they seem to have done it is the fact that the problems that he now has to solve with the new girls seems to be that he has to solve these problems in order to further his relationship with the first girl. So that kind of like saved it for me in a way of like, oh, it's not just him like picking up a bunch of girls. He literally, all he cares about is being with Mai, and he has to do this in order to be with Mai. Like,
This is coming from you, Alastair, who is Johnny Horam usually.
Well, yeah, I completely get the opinion there and get the thing. However, I much prefer the way of I much prefer the way of Monogatari doing things in which they manage to continue on a relationship while he can still solve other girls' problems and stuff. Because in doing so, that shows much more that the relationship is progressing and that there's a chance that he can have other friends that are girls and deal with their problems and solve it and still build up his relationship. And to me, that makes their relationship seem even stronger. Whereas in this one, it does slightly worry me in a way that they're building it up in such a way where it's like, I look at it and I feel they don't have confidence in the interrelationship between the two enough.
They don't.
I think if you want proof of that, look at the fucking title and thumbnail. They have no faith in their own writing, or the producers don't critically. The writer probably had plenty of faith.
I think the thing what you're gonna have to wait. This show in particular is probably when you can't really fully have an opinion on it until it's probably done at this point.
No,
because I think this girl, yes, they've done it with that, but you may find that when we get onto the next arc, it may go to that Monogatari thing of he is continuously now evolving his relationship with the first girl while doing the other stuff.
I hope so. Like I say, I'm really enjoying it, and I've got high hopes.
At
this point, it could go. This is the problem with this show. It could either turn out to be really good all the way through, or it could nosedive at this point. It's one of those things.
You can say that about any show up till episode 24 of its standard series run.
I think the one thing I'm really enjoying about this show, genuinely, this show has made me laugh more than the full-on comedies this show this season has. There's a section in the beginning of the most recent arc where the whole idea is that he's repeating days, so he's repeating the same day over and over and over and over again, and he f's up essentially during one of the days, and he just goes, well, I'm just going to repeat it. And it hard cuts to him sat in bed staring at the clock, which is the next day, and he's just like, shit. And I laughed my ass off at that. It was such good comedy. And I'm like, that was just funny. And I'm like, I sat there and I'm like, I know exactly which joke is coming up here. But they performed it so perfectly well. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
Is it a show that perhaps doesn't innovate, but its execution is perfect, so it's fine?
I think that's essentially what it is. I'd say this is the My Hero Academia of like the kind of supernatural romance genre at the moment, and that's a big thing to say. It's not doing anything particularly new.
I would say
just doing it very well, and the main character's terrible.
Well, overrated with terrible main character.
That was the joke. Anyway, anyone got anything else to say about Bunny Girl Senpai before we let Ben loose?
Yes, I think this shows kind of a crippling problem in most media these days, in that you got to sell things as a product, and it alarms me that something that's really well written is being sold with no fucking faith in it, and that actually upsets me a great fucking deal.
The Bunny Girl outfit arrives twice. Once when she wears it, and once to try and for a plot point.
And then that's it. And the problem is that for recommendation threads for years now, literally everyone's going to go, right, now here's the name of the show, just ignore the title. And if you ever need to put that caveat, some producer has fucked your show's ever chances of getting a decent Blu-ray run.
Well, I'd argue it's not producers of the show, it's the
whoever.
It is the title of the first light novel.
Yeah.
Alright, in which case the writer had no fucking confidence.
Well, I think potentially his editor can't we just change this name?
Whoever's fault it was is a fucking coward.
Anyway, it's good, and people should watch it.
Yes, you should watch it.
Anyway, moving on
Ben,
to the next
we're
thing.
letting you loose.
Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer.
Well,
The elephant in the
Goblin
room
Slayer.
is Goblin Slayer.
So I picked up Goblin Slayer several years ago in the light novel and manga form. I originally caught it as a manga, and then picked up.
I caught it as a manga originally as well.
Yeah, and then picked up the light novels after. And as soon as I heard it was getting an anime adaptation, I was giddy but also skeptical, given my two favorite mangas are Goblin Slayer and Berserk.
Ooh.
And we all know how the Berserk adaptations went, and they're similar-ish in they both don't shy away from the dark, gritty shit.
You're a dark fantasy boy, Ben, aren't you?
I do like dark fantasy shit.
I
like shit that doesn't shy away from realism. But also, one of the things I love about Goblin Slayer is the guy just built it around D&D.
Yeah,
that's the thing that I'm now.
So Western fantasy, it's not even fun.
It's also really obvious. Literally, the
gods roll dice.
The gods roll
dice.
And everything about it is he genuinely just made a manga about D&D, but in a darker, grittier world than what regular D&D presents to people.
It's like I'll argue Overlord did the exact same thing.
Yes,
it's a D&D world, but someone's just gone, here's a show about it.
Right.
And so for anyone that doesn't know Goblin Slayer, which I would be surprised if you don't,
It's the biggest show this season right now.
Because of the huge both backlash and arguments and everything that came out when it came on. Goblin Slayer is a manga about a Goblin Slayer who is a man that was once had his village destroyed.
Johnny Gobbo Slayer.
Went through a lot of shit and has now resigned himself to hunt goblins in an adventurer's guild that offers out quests. He will only hunt goblins and chooses to exclusively go hunt down goblins.
I was going to say, resigned himself's the wrong word because he chooses to go and fight goblins.
See, I quite like the I think resignation is. I think resignation is an appropriate verb because, I don't
think he is. Genuinely, I think he wants to hunt goblins because that's his resolve. He sat down and gone, "I'm hunting goblins. I'm doing this thing. Yeah, goblins."
But the big thing that's come from this is the fact that the goblins are portrayed as these horrible creatures, and goblins can only have males of their species, so they require other species to mate with, and they're horrible pack creatures that are feral, and so will kidnap women and use women that go and attack them if they're still alive to breed and create more of their species, because they've got to breed to create more, because when there's more of them, they have a higher chance of killing more things, stealing more things, and continuing on. And it's used as a way to show how deplorable and horrible these creatures are,
and why they need to be slayed,
and why they're the subject of like Goblin Slayer's ire and rage, and why they're such a big thing and pest for him to deal with.
I don't know. See, I think the Goblin Slayer is deeper than that, right? I mean, I love Goblin Slayer, right? I mean,
Goblin Slayer is deeper than that. I'm just getting out.
No, I know.
We're getting the elephant of the room out the way that is episode 1.
Okay, fine. There's rape. Yeah, whatever. People need to get over that shit. But right.
Well, I mean, they do. Anyone that's read Berserk and has read the Troll arc has much worse.
Right, but here's
my piece. Can I say my piece?
No, yeah, go ahead.
All right, fair enough. Showing rape in medium is not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how that is used. If it is shown deplorably and in a way that's supposed to kind of get the audience going and a bit excited, that is a wrong use of it. If it is used in a story context to show why something needs to be as such, or why something is doing something, then it is used in a better context.
But
that's
exactly what it is, yeah.
Right, but there's the thing, like, right, I'm genuinely trying to be contrarian Mary, just as Ben knows, this has been heavy on my mind for the past few days, like, the glorification and almost sort of sexification of violence is something which anime is guilty of. You look at Mirai Nikki, where, like, you know, that literally, like, makes violence look sexy, and it makes murder and torture and, you know, a child abuse, like, you know, look sexy, because that's what the author's intention was.
Well,
you know, and
it
like,
doesn't. Like the scene with the woman that runs the cult, that was not made sexy at all. That was made to look horrifying.
well, no,
And
but that was
did
him.
the exact same thing.
No, I know, but it was no. I was sorry. I was more on about Gasai Yuno there rather than the other bits.
Oh,
but, like,
sorry.
I'm specifically referring to Yuno as a character because, like, she only admits episode 23 of her standard anime season run that there's something wrong with her. Like, like the rest of the time, she kind of gleefully, you know, goes into the fact that she is a yandere, and of course, it invented the trope. Well, I say it popularized the trope. Let's argue. Actually, my point with Goblin Slayer is the fact that, like, it's an interesting argument though, because, like, you know, we sex up we sex up violence all the time, and, like, I know it sounds dumb as fuck, but, like, the fact that there's a massive issue around violencing up sex, I think, speaks to a fundamental sort of mimetic back of the mind thing that culture has, and that's not obviously we're not going to crack in one anime podcast, but it is worth mentioning. Like, you know, this caused, like, so much outcry. But then you've got something like Berserk, where, of course, you know, no one has ever given a shit about what Berserk has put onto the airwaves because it's good. So is the only thing that is separating whether something is deplorable or dark with purpose is how good something is, which is
I would argue comedy does the exact same thing, where it's the idea is like, when is something offensive and when is something funny? Well, something
when it's good.
Something is offensive when it's not funny.
Yeah.
When it is funny, then people are more likely to get away with it. A couple of years ago, when PewDiePie did the whole thing, where he got a bunch of Indian men to hold up the sign. Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, that's awful." I'm just like, do you know why it's awful? Because it's not funny.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. If it was a well choreographed thing, he would have been more likely to get away with it.
Maybe.
But he did. But it wasn't well choreographed. It wasn't funny. Ergo, people got annoyed with it. But I think that might be one of the issues the Goblin Slayer episode.
But anyway, like, it's a much bigger issue than I think we're going to tackle on one podcast. If you don't mind, do you mind if I just say my original thing with Goblin Slayer?
Yeah.
The genuine unfortunate thing for me with Goblin Slayer is that it is about 5 years, 10 years too late. In the sense of it missed the time when it would have been one of the greatest animes ever made.
If it came out alongside Evangelion,
exactly, because the thing is, it does what lots of creators do, which, you know, and you know how high I hold the creators who do this sort of thing, where they take something and they subvert it. He takes the D&D genre and he says, "What if this actually happened?" and runs with it. And, like, you know, and you see the same thing in Madoka Magica, Phase Zero. Obviously, again, I'm on the Urabuchi train, but you get what I mean, right? Like, you know, it's when a creator looks at something and says, "Let's take this to its logical conclusion." That person likes to go to whatever place he feels is good for the art. And the problem is, 10 years ago, that would have been revolutionary. Now, everyone fucking does it. Everyone's edgy for the fucking sake of it. And I'm not saying the Goblin Slayer is intentionally edgy. I'm saying, like, I'm not even saying the Goblin Slayer is edgy for the sake of it. Goblin Slayer was OG edgy. Goblin Slayer is edgy without trying. Which is good.
Yeah.
Death Note is edgy. You know, but Death Note is great because it came out at the right time. If Gobbo Slayer came out in 2007, it'd be one of the best anime ever made. I will literally throw that on the table. Not to mention the fact that, like, one of my favorite things ever about Goblin Slayer, the anime, it has shot choreography. Oh my fucking god! I swear to God, I actually fucking shot my desk 5 foot in the air when I saw that shit. Like, sweet Jesus Christ, an anime with a wide-angle lens and decent shot choreography. It has been so fucking long, I'd argue since probably Fate Unlimited Blade Works, where an anime has done decent shot choreography. Like,
Oh no, I agree. I also like the fact that they've done a lot of stuff with this show. That actually, it looks really good. I'm going to say this. When Goblin Slayer's not in 3D, because they unfortunately, other elephant in the room, Goblin Slayer. I pointed this out episode 1, and Alastair and Ben were like, I don't really see it. And me and Lewis both saw it.
Oh yeah, I thought it was fucking awful.
Yeah, and I was like, 2D looks great. The problem with 3D is it looks a tiny bit stilted. And I'm not a sort of person that hates 3D in anime. Land of the Lustrous, as well as Knights of Sidonia, are two of my favorite anime.
Fuck me, Berserk Season 2 is enjoyable if wank.
However, I feel that when 2D and 3D are not used together properly, it ruins it. And unfortunately, Goblin Slayer is animated in 3D a lot of the time. And when he's animated in 3D, he doesn't move like a person, he moves like a 3D sprite. And that's a massive issue.
Like a Blender animation.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate issue for me. And it doesn't disrupt my enjoyment of the show. I am enjoying it. I think the most recent episode, the last 2 episodes, I thought were really, really entertaining and really, really enjoyable. I liked the change of having actually more people. I really, really enjoyed what happens if Goblin Slayer has to deal with something that isn't a goblin. Is he actually a good adventurer? Because I think he's like the 2nd or 3rd highest rank.
3rd highest.
He's B rank.
He's B rank. He's silver.
He's silver.
Yeah, he's a silver as opposed to a gold, and so he's exceptionally good at killing goblins. And suddenly it's just like, here's an enemy that he will never encounter before. How's he going to deal with it? The answer is he deals with it like a silver rank adventurer, because he's a silver rank adventurer. He knows how to kill things.
It's a mindset.
He just happens
to be exceptionally good at goblins.
To just be very good at goblins. So literally, it's just like, here is a giant thing that everyone in this party is struggling with, and Goblin Slayer's got it, because he's Goblin Slayer. He knows how to deal with it.
Because he's hot.
His exact response is just, you're not a goblin, but you're in my way, so go away.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
He's very competent, and there's
and he's
a
imaginative.
likelihood that's especially put on is... Fuck off, you.
Alastair, on the screen.
Well, one thing that's especially put on in the light novels is the fact that Goblin Slayer would likely be a much higher rank if he didn't solely take goblins.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, another fun thing about the light novels, which are the one written properly...
The first ones.
Yeah, the first ones. The actual explicit scenes, they're not described, they're just told that they're happening, and that's it. And it's left for you to fill in the gaps, and in some places it's just heavily implied. However, when adapting it to the manga version, there's no way you can just heavily imply that shit in a visual-based format, so they had to do something to show it off. And of course, an anime is very similar to a manga more so than a light novel, and so they had to do the same sort of thing. And it works that way, and I have zero issue with it, once again, not to bring back on the same point, but it's just...
It's the elephant in the room we have to keep on.
I mean, in the original thing, it's handled very tastefully in a written form, but then when you bring it to a visual form, there's only so far that what happens can take you.
As people who have read the light novels, for some part, I'm only on to novel 3.
I'm in for a Goblin Slayer visual novel where he just it's not
choice
Goblin,
is kill Goblin or kill Goblin.
it's not Goblin Slayer trying to romance the 3 or 4 leads. It's the 4 leads trying to romance him, and they're just continuously failing.
Whenever you pick trying to romance one or being especially nice to one, you get an immediate bad end. You just get an immediate bad end. You go to the Tiger Dojo of Fate, and it's not the Tiger Dojo, it's just like a really wise old goblin. Just sat there being like, should have fucking killed more goblins.
But anyway, so that's what I was saying.
Sorry, Joe.
For people who've read the light novels, how do we feel about the fact that, from what we've seen at the end of the current episode, that it looks like they're going to be skipping an arc already?
It makes sense given the current amount of content they've got that the manga has released.
Are they skipping an arc?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. They might save it for later.
I've heard that as well. I've heard people saying that they might be just leaving it for later to have a more
I think they want to get to
anime
the Sword Maiden
season.
Yeah,
I think they want to get to Sword Maiden ASAP in the anime.
Because the arc that they skip will push to something. Yeah, the next arc I think is great for characterization of the party. It really builds on some great things.
Is it which bit's it skipping? Is it?
It's skipping the Goblin Lord.
What, the one where he uses the sea scroll, or?
No, that was the ogre. The Goblin Lord is so the farm gets attacked.
I've heard it's the one where they attack the farm.
Yeah. The one with the infamous shields.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid spoilers in case it does come up.
Oh right, I think I've seen an image of this.
Yeah, Ben
Yeah,
showed me the
yeah.
image of this as well. Yeah, no, I just like I think the other reason for like the whole backlash that this show has had from the first episode, the other thing is basically if you look at the picture of it and you haven't done your homework and you have not looked up what Goblin Slayer is or what it's about,
'cause it looks horror-y.
it literally looks like your traditional isekai fancy
Isekai
horror
fantasy
anime,
horror
which
stuff.
people probably
And then-
watched,
and
and
the
then they were like,
start-
"Oh my god, goblin rape! My eyes are burning."
yeah,
like
because
they weren't
starts
expecting it, which I
a
think
very generic isekai party as well at the
Yeah,
start, with
exactly.
everyone being all, oh yeah, well buddy, whoa, yeah, everything's happy, as if it were an isekai.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
that's probably another reason why it got that backlash of just it's like such a stark contrast of like people just weren't expecting that to happen. Because I remember when I watched the first episode, I knew that it was going to be dark, and I knew they were all going to die in the first episode.
Oh no, it's very obvious.
And
it's not a shock. It's
yeah.
not. It's very obvious. It's not a
Or,
shock.
Yeah,
all you
no,
have to
but-
do is look at the title art and
Yeah.
see.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you don't know Goblin Slayer, that's not obvious.
It's not obvious unless you know.
No,
that it's
no,
gonna
I
happen.
agree with
But
Lewis there. I think there are telltale signs of the fact they're shit adventurers, but given a lot of what is shown, like your Konosubas and even your ReZeros, like the guy gets killed mainly because he's on his own or makes stupid decisions and stuff. This is an adventuring party that's shown to be going out and being an adventuring party, and in the world where everyone's watching stuff where 7 isekais get pumped out every series and they go around and have their jolly little harem, I think people would pick up the first episode and just expect their jolly little show where they go and kill some goblins, and maybe it's a bit brutal in the killing of the goblins.
And
because-
maybe they struggle, and Goblin Slayer comes and saves them.
maybe
this
one
is
of
like
them
Sword
dies
Art.
episode
Maybe this
one.
is like Sword Art Online, where some people die, and it's got the cool sword action, and then Kirito will come and hit them with the stick.
And Kirito
Yeah,
will
Goblin
heal-
Slayer takes his
Like-
helmet off, and it's Kirito.
Kirito will heal more than anyone can damage him because he bought the day one DLC. And
Oh
That's the
god.
best explanation I've fucking heard.
Hey, there we go. I think Goblin Slayer is good. I don't think it's the savior of all anime like some thought it was going to be. Unfortunately.
oh no,
No,
Oh no,
no,
as I say, it's a decade
was-
too late.
I was
Well,
just
I'm-
hoping
I'm-
for the
well, I'm-
closest thing I'll ever get to a decent Berserk adaptation.
But I'm enjoying it as a dark fantasy, and I think I do like some of the little touches it's putting in. I like the character of Goblin Slayer because he is that kind of he is this kind of character who doesn't really have too much of a personality, but his personality is well put in good situations. As a result, it makes up for it. So I will be honest, I'm still not sick of the joke of someone walking up to him and going, "Oh, Goblin Slayer, I've got something to ask you. Does it involve killing goblins?" It does not, and it immediately hard cutting to him leaving.
yeah, exactly.
That's still funny to me. That's still funny.
That's still funny to me, and I've read all of this so much as well, and it's still funny
Same.
when I see it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I like Goblin Slayer.
I mean, for me,
I
as-
like Goblin Slayer a
yeah,
lot.
as for me, as somebody who's watched many fancy and isekai shows, it's nice to watch something that's a bit more dark and different.
Honestly, it's
basically.
nice to watch something that isn't an isekai. I'm
Yeah.
really happy that we've got a show that's a fantasy that isn't an isekai fantasy. It's
No.
just a fantasy. I'm happy. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's scratching that itch.
Also, quick side thing: why is Cthulhian from Fate in it? Well, and Ginger. Ginger Cthulhian is in it. I
He
found
is
that
pretty
hilarious.
much a lookalike. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is exact.
No, he
Isn't
probably
his name
won't
also
fake.
like? Isn't he like?
His name's just Spearman.
He's Spearman.
Like-
I was like, isn't it Lancer?
Most of the names are just classes
Yeah.
of the people.
Yeah, no characters have names.
Yeah, I
Which
know
I'm fine
no
with.
characters.
I think
have
that's
names,
funny.
they're all
I
things,
love
but
that. I absolutely adore that.
I get the feeling it's because we are looking through Goblin Slayer's eyes, and he literally
Yeah.
has no other. He has
Yeah.
no other
He doesn't give a
eyes,
shit.
but
He
it's like-
does not care.
Yeah,
Fun
maiden,
thing.
maiden girl, woman.
If
her.
Cowgirl.
If you want
Cowgirl's
more,
fucking funny.
if you want more backstory characterization stuff for Goblin Slayer, there has been released prequel stuff, Goblin Slayer 0, I think it's called, which follows him.
The first Holy Grail War.
Where he actually fights
The
Lancer.
first Goblin Slayer.
No, it follows him and how he...
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
say it's Berserker.
He'd be a berserker.
Yeah.
It follows how he got to become Goblin Slayer and is starting to adventuring, and
With his
it's really
master?
interesting.
Is that with the master dude, burglar or whatever it is?
There is the master, yes, and then, but it's like the
Master
way he
Miller.
the way he
Basically.
survives the village and everything, and you get all of that detail.
I
And
mean,
then you
I'm
get...
kind of happy not knowing that. Honestly, I like that we.
See, that's good, and that's kind of why I like it as a side thing, because it's there for people that are interested or do just want more. But then you can still just leave Goblin Slayer in the air of mystery, because that's all he is. And I love the way of the he is just Goblin Slayer, because that's what he is.
I
He
think
is the Slayer of
He
goblins. and
is Goblin Slayer. He slay goblins.
I think on a final note from me, I do just think they need to be careful not to fall in the trap of forcing that characterization a bit too much. I do want it not too much just I slay goblins. Like, we need to kind of mix up a little bit, and they are doing it. But it's one of those things where I just hope they don't accidentally go, okay, this is his character forever now. Like, it's the unfortunate problem I had with Violet Evergarden. As much as I love it, she didn't advance as a character fast enough for those 13 episodes, and I think Goblin Slayer, unfortunately, might fall into that same pit.
I mean, so
Yes.
far.
Quickly, talk over Ben's pissing sounds.
Yeah, Ben is
Yeah.
actually gone for a piss and he's asking us to fill time instead of talking about banana fish.
Yeah, we were. I was about to move us on to banana fish.
Oh no, don't do that. We'll talk about the fact that Ben's gone for a piss in the middle of the podcast.
Absolutely, but I think it's just funny. The fact
We are now
that-
taking our pissing interlude.
No, in all seriousness, no, like fucking. I can't decide because like Goblin Slayer's got like the ingenuity and speed of like a Lancer class or maybe even a Saber, but like Berserker makes sense because it's that single-minded purpose. Like, I don't know.
I would say he is a Berserker or an Avenger.
Yeah.
An
I don't even know what the fuck an Avenger is.
An Avenger is a class that typically turns up to avenge something, and that makes sense for Goblin Slayer.
Yeah.
He's there to avenge his thing, and they usually have very high attack. And
Also the fact that he will use any weapon rather than being stuck to one convention.
Yeah.
So he's an Avenger then, yeah.
He's an Avenger. I'd say he's definitely an Avenger. And that's one of those things. And Ben's back.
No, he's not.
Why he's
No,
I
typing.
am.
Well, he's
Fucking-
typing.
I can't hear him. All I can hear is piss.
He stopped
Salt,
typing.
Lewis.
Right.
Pure salt.
Since Ben's
Anyway,
back, we can
it's
now
not
move on to
pure.
banana fish.
It's got piss
Have
in
fun,
it.
Ben.
And Alastair, I join you on the not having watched this train. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to right now. I watched the first 2 episodes of Banana Fish, and it didn't unfortunately grab me.
So Ben, it must be said,
It's got
right?
too many men in it, so it's not
like-
for me.
I mean, that I enjoyed. It was the rest of it.
Guys, fuck, Ben.
Yes,
So,
Lewis.
so you got to admit, it is quite nice. The fact, I mean, like, the podcast is going quite well. When you agree, generally, it's sort of like an organizational thing, and it's good to know that, like, twice every year, after the standard 24-episode anime season, we're able to do another one of these. Yes, Banana Fish has got 24 episodes, you little fucking cunts. So we can talk about it even when it's in full. Hit that gay button. Nah, it's really good. It's a show about fucking child exploitation.
Yeah, it is. That's the basic downside of it. It's it's exploiting children.
Banana Fish is a good show where the only black character gets shot fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant. It's unflinching as fuck.
It holds 0
oh.
punches in its regards.
It's so good.
The brutality of
Prison rape, like
what happens in people's past. It holds 0 back in the shit that happens when they go through stuff. Like, a character gets put in prison and it's It's
And
not
he's
a
like
nice time.
attempted raped like 4 times.
There's beatings. There's the attempted rapes and stuff like that, and it's just like this is the gritty side of shit. But then you've also got the straight up a character gets kidnapped, a character chases after them to save them. They go on their own. They also get kidnapped. They then get beaten up. The other character gets killed.
Yeah, it's really fucking. It's really fucking. Ben, do you want us to actually stop for a second, just so we can wait for Alistair to finish playing Grand Order, which is more important than managing the podcast he's actually in. I mean, you know, during all these shows that I've never actually seen, I try to involve some witty commentary, but you know, you're not going to grind for quartz any other way. So Ben, if we just politely wait for it.
For anyone, obviously, who's listening to this, the exact quotes in the chat right now are from Alastair. Hugh, have you also started playing Grand Order?
If you just said, have you started playing Grand Order, you might have been out of my sights, but unfortunately, you implicated yourself. Much like how, in Banana Fish, it also covers quite a decent gangster plot, where the character implicates himself in order to investigate the crime further. It really reminded... I've said this before, but it really reminded me of one of my more favourite recent anime that fucking nobody watched, which is 91 Days.
This is what I was going to compare it to, because
fucking nobody watched it.
I watched this and I thought...
We watched it together, Lewis.
I watched the beginning of Banana Fish and it reminded me of 91 Days. And
you didn't like either.
I unfortunately didn't like either. I don't know why. I understand completely why both of them are excellent shows in their own rights. They're just not my thing, unfortunately. Because
no, I get that, man. And that's fair.
Here's my big issue. Unfortunately, with the things that Banana Fish and 91 Days did, and I'm going to say sacrilege here, I think Western live action does it better. And so, I want to go and watch...
You could have just said Bakano does it better. But...
I mean, I'm halfway through Bakano at the moment, and I'm enjoying it. But genuinely, I genuinely just think Western live action does it better. That's my opinion. I completely understand and can see why people hold these two shows and say they are great, because I genuinely see what's very good about them. It's just not for me. It's just not for me.
It's an interesting thing to chew over, because like there is no reason why Banana Fish is an anime. If that makes sense, it could have been. It could have been.
The manga's art style is.
Right. This is a really dumb fucking statement. Go beyond art style for a second. You know, there's some things which just work better as an anime. Like, you know, either because they need to either because it'd be so CGI to fuck that it's easier to draw it.
Oh my god, that is awful. That is. I'm sorry. I've just looked up the Banana Fish manga.
Yeah. The art style is. It's something awful, mate. It's fucking god awful.
That is something. Anyway, sorry.
But anyway, and like basically but I get your point in that it's the gangster genre has been very stereotypically well, I was actually about to mention this. It's very typically a Western-dominated fucking medium, and yet we now oddly have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is all about gangsters, and I think it just kind of shows that the sort of theme of being a gangster is just that. It's just a theme. It doesn't have to inform your medium what kind of story. It just so happens that Godfather and Sopranos or whatever came about during American television. American film and television. I think purely because the Americans really like it and they happen to own TV and film at the time.
I can get that.
And truth be told, the reason I like Banana Fish and the reason I like 91 Days is because, unlike JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that's gangsters. You know, the black guy does get shot. They talk about fucking differences between the races actually a fair bit in Banana Fish. It's quite good, but they talk about the fact that often black, Asian, or black Asian Puerto Rican elements often get stuck in New York gangs and they rarely leave, and all the white characters are the successful ones, and they treat it fairly and they go through it and they say, and like fucking the Japanese people come to visit, one of the major characters, a Japanese person, and people are very racist to him. Yeah. And they call him a fucking chink, and like, you know, they insult him to his face, and it's refreshing to see a fucking show actually take that shit seriously. And like I think I'm gonna slag off JoJo here because JoJo's fucking awful for it. We're like, you know, Giorno's like fucking half Japanese. What do? They make a single comment about him being fucking half nip. and the fact that that makes him like Koichi. That's it. His heritage never comes up again. Meanwhile, in 91 Days, heritage and past is almost everything, which is a key player in the gangster genre, which is again like 91 Days, where your heritage is everything.
Another one of the big things in Banana Fish that it touches on is the whole, homosexual side of things. And I'm not a big person to go on and think, oh, you need a soapbox to talk on this sort of stuff, because I think people should just be okay with it anyway. And I don't think, but Banana Fish just doesn't. It's one of those that doesn't
give a shit.
It doesn't give a shit, and it will go through, and it will go, and it will just do it there. And that's one you don't see from a Japanese show, especially, of one where it will do that, and it will just have this straight-up thing. And one of the big things, slight spoilers for it, is the main character initially, although being gay as a character, was forced into child prostitution with men. Yeah. And he is man himself, and so he was forced to have sex with other men, and these were recorded and sent out and stuff. But one of the first interactions you have is this character who is a mob boss's prized, almost pet, but associate as well.
Capo.
At this point. Yeah, capo almost.
Lack of a better fucking term.
And so going into the mansion, but one of the guys just stopping him and just being like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Hey, jacked off when you got raped as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And then the guy's just like, huh, "You faggot," and it's just like, wow, all right, this show is holding nothing back with regards to that sort of stuff, and just straight in there.
It does not punches. It's a good fucking gangster show.
I did appreciate that when I watched it, that it was just holding nothing back.
Yeah, and also every character is killable, and it's a show where you'll see that, but it's not done in a way where it does it flauntingly. It's not done in a way where it's like, hey, look, we're killing off them. Almost, and I'll slag off Goblin Slayer a little bit, that first episode is shown there a shock fact, and that, that starting bit and it entirely is, hey, look, people will die, look at the brutality of the world. Goblin Slayer doesn't, Banana Fish doesn't do that. It just happens as it happens and goes through in sort of a natural way.
It's used as a plot point, not a shock.
But you still have the hold the entire way through that no one is beyond being killed at this point.
And it's the same. It's like the reason why I really like Death Note after they killed off spoilers L. Suddenly that became everyone's fair game suddenly.
Yes, but it took so long through, and also pro Death Note there with its gay foot drying scene. We're basically talking about the same show at that point. They are.
Yeah. I mean, should we just start going to the yaoi genre? How me and you, Ben, just have an infatuation with.
I mean, I just think it's a.
I think it's important for shows to be a bit more clever about showing that anyone can die. I mean, we'll go back to it always, but fucking Fate Zero is a masterclass in this. Here's a show where there's 14 people. Alright, some of them are gonna fucking die. How do they show that anyone can fucking die? They fucking annihilate a child. Is one of the first on-screen deaths. That's what I'm fucking talking about. That is laying your cock on the table and saying
once again, Banana Fish.
It's also in Fate Zero where it goes, not only does it annihilate a child straight up, it then goes, hey, this war that for 24, we got 24 episode season, it's all about Holy Grail War. You see that character, you see that one character, that servant there, gone, killed, gone, finished.
Anyway, right.
Well, that's one of the things in Banana.
I'm losing my desk, Hugh. I'm losing my desk.
It's like you've got a firefight starts out and breaks out between two groups of people. Guess what? People are getting fucking shot. There's no miraculous, everyone made it to cover and shot the bad guys.
People get shot all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I am appreciative.
Unless they're being shot by stormtroopers.
One of my favourite bits is I can't remember the episode specific, but they go to visit one of the families of one of the people they're travelling with, and they go and they stop by, and shit goes down, and people show up, and they take the family hostage, and then they show up to try and rescue them, and the second they let their presence known, they're just like, all right, time to kill them.
Blimey. I mean, it's a show that I appreciate, if not enjoy. And I think that's my 2 cents on it in one of those respects. I appreciate it, I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah, everybody has shows like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And,
But if you're after a proper mobster show, or...
Watch Bacano.
Well, yeah, actually, if you're after a proper mobster show, do watch Bacano. If you're after less of a supernatural element, I'd highly recommend Banana Fish. I would recommend Banana Fish. Is very almost westernish in the style of mafia show to enjoy. I think it hits a lot of themes and doesn't hold any punches with what it has. And so, if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'd say it's a very high recommendation in my books.
Especially since you may have missed it, since it's not a Crunchyroll show and it's an Amazon Prime show.
Yeah, Amazon Prime show, which gets a lot less viewing.
Definitely.
There's a lot of Amazon Prime shows that I would highly recommend. That's a topic.
It is a topic, but just sticking onto this season, I will sit down and say Boarding School Juliet. We're not going to be talking about it in detail.
Yes,
but that's very good, and that's on Amazon Prime.
Yes,
go and watch that.
I agree.
We're not going to go into detail because this podcast, we're trying to get it under the 2-hour mark, and we're currently
failing hard.
No, I'm not going to lie.
I think we're currently on that.
I've resolved myself for it failing. But...
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, so I think anyone else got any comments about Banana Fish?
No, it's good. Go. The thing is, I haven't watched the whole thing yet. Just I'm waiting for the fucking full thing to come out so I can binge it.
And
no, it's good.
I think at this point, then we're on to, surprisingly, the most controversial show on this list, as it turns out, for us five, which is strange, which is
Castlevania.
Well, Alastair, it's your podcast, so it's you. Go for it.
Right, so apparently we have controversial opinions about Zombieland Saga.
Wait, is that the show about the undead idols?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's trash, utter trash. Like, good, but trash.
Okay, so
and there's the third opinion.
There's the third opinion.
Right. So, we are currently split into 3 camps, right? We got Lewis's, it's trash, but it's fun.
It's fine, it's just whack.
Right.
Lewis's is it's just
I've got, it was great until
who,
episode 3 where it nosedived, is my opinion.
And who agrees with that?
I don't fucking know. I only watched the first episode.
I'm on the fence between the good side and Alistair's one there. I will explain why later.
Wait, it gets worse? Fuck,
I have one specific reason why it nosedives for me.
Does the man appear?
You see, and here's
it's already a clusterfuck. There's like 4 people talking at once every moment.
Sorry, and I'm sat there where I actually am really enjoying.
He's just giddy bouncing on his chair.
I'm just really enjoying
the show called again?
Zombieland Saga. I'm really enjoying Zombieland Saga. I thought the first 2 episodes were the best episodes, but I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
I too am.
Right, I'm gonna quickly flip through.
I think the issue is episode 3. If you're on, so for those of you that don't know, Zombieland Saga was a show that they tried to keep under wraps while it was coming out. It was about zombies, and then it was revealed in episode 1. It's actually an idol show. It's about a bunch of undead idols.
Yeah.
Episodes 1 and 2 are great parodies of the idol genre as a result. The first episode is heavy metal idols. The second episode is rap battle. And the third episode, it goes full on normal idol stuff.
Oh god, this looks awful.
And I think the issue is, a lot of people, and I'm going to assume, Alastair, you're very much like this, you didn't like the fact it went full on idol.
I didn't mind the fact it went full on idol. I mind the fact that as soon as they started doing that idol show, it went to the worst 3D animation that I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, right.
May I? This shit now, God.
You see the 3D animation,
and I watched Ruby.
This is the problem this is what idol shows do. So Love Live does it, and Idol Masters does it. I think my favourite thing is that during episode 3, everybody was just shouting, the 3D is ironic, and then episode 4 came about, and they realised that 3D was not ironic. What I really like about Zombieland Saga, and I don't let the 3D overtake me, because I've watched enough idol shows to just accept the 3D at this point. That's just the part of idol shows as people being transported to another world is with isekai. What I really like about Zombieland Saga is that it manages to go, we're doing an idol show, and then manages to, every single episode, pull something out of the bag to subvert it. So episodes 1 and 2, you've got the heavy metal and you've got rapping. Episode 3, it doesn't really do it particularly well. It just is. It's a kind of a.
It's just them being a bit shit.
It is just them not being particularly well. But I feel they had to do it. Episode 4 is advertising a hot springs, and it's really funny because spoiler alert, they go into the hot springs and their bodies start falling apart, and they end up turning it into a bit of a horror thing where half of them are trying to escape out of the hot springs, half of them are coming to see what's going on, and we forget that from what we've seen,
normal people exist.
From normal people exist. Number two, from an audience perspective, we see them as cute little zombie girls. They're a bit green. They've got a couple of stitches here and there, but they look really, really nice in their zombie girls. To everyone else in the entire world,
cut to the first person perspective of the manager.
To everyone else, when they who is not a viewer, who is not the manager, they look like horrifying walking corpses. And if they're not wearing makeup, they're terrifying. And that, to me, is brilliantly funny, because they managed to use it in enough ways that is funny. So the most recent episode went very much the whole idea of this is what idols have to do to get by nowadays. And they made it funny because they took the zombie aspect and they edited it to kind of pull that in. And that's what I really like about Zombieland Saga. That actually is taking the whole idol genre and going, but what if? It is essentially making fun of the idol genre, and I really like that it's making fun of the idol genre.
I'm 100% with you here, Hugh, and I give zero shits about the actual idol part.
Oh yeah, me too. I don't care.
And make fun part, and I think I was fairly sold early on, just from runs out of house, gets hit by a
that is hilarious.
Immediately. Also the fact that the immediate thing people pulled was, man, the trajectory of that woman getting hit by that truck was all off.
It's literally.
I would know.
I would say, if you're going to watch this show, ignore the idol bit. Yes, the idol bit's there. That's used as a plot device. It's not an idol show. It's a comedy show, with the exception of the third episode. It's a comedy show. It's designed specifically to be funny. It just happens to be about a bunch of undead idols. It is just funny. The fact that we have a running gag throughout the entire show that one of the zombies is generally just a proper zombie who's mindless. The legendary the legendary Yamada Tai is literally a zombie, and it's 5 episodes in now, and she's still a mindless zombie, and that's just funny because they never treat her as anything else. They just literally bring her along, do stuff with her, and she can literally do mindless actions. So in the most recent episode, the only thing they managed to get her to do is dance and cuckoo, and that's it. And that's just funny, because they are just playing with something that I've never seen before. I think that's why I like Zombieland Saga. It's something I've never seen before. I've never seen zombies in anime used in such a weird comedic way. Because the closest I've ever seen is this zombie, and he's not really a zombie in that show. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Is This a Zombie?
I've seen it.
No.
Yeah, he's not really a zombie in that show. He's called a zombie, he's not really a zombie. These girls are zombies.
Yeah.
They fall apart, they're rotting, they're stitched up, it's funny. And that's what I like about this show.
I literally, the thing is, I agree with all the things that you said. Like, the first 2 episodes, I loved all of those aspects of the fact, yes, it's like, the idol stuff is literally just a thing of, like, this is a plot device, and it's actually a comedy, and it's like, first 2 episodes are great. It's I haven't really seen idol shows before, so I didn't know whether the 3D thing was normal for idol shows to do or not. But you have to.
It's very normal.
I'm sorry, it's terrible. It looks absolutely dreadful. I don't think I've ever seen worse 3D anime. I haven't seen the Berserk adaptation that might have worse 3D animation than that.
Oh no, it does. Honestly, this is better 3D animation than a lot of idol shows have.
But the thing is, looking at it, and I'm like, I go back, look at episode 1, and you have the freaking heavy metal headbanging scene with really good animation that's really great, and then you go to this, it's like, why can't you just do the same? Like, why can't you, like...
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just
I think...
that irritates me so much. I may go back and watch episode 4 and enjoy episode 4 a lot, but episode 3, to me, if I finish this, and it turns out that the entire show is like episodes 1 and 2, I'll really enjoy it, but then if I marked every single episode, episode 3 would get a 1 out of 10, because it's dreadful.
Episode 3 is the weak point in that show. Like, literally, episodes 4 and 5 pull it back up, because episodes 4 and 5 are them going, and episode 3 didn't work, do something else. And
Budget.
yeah, literally, I will say this as well, in terms of it. If you want to watch this show, watch it for one thing and one thing only, and that is Mamoru Miyano as the manager. That is
actually, he's the most annoying character to me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like him at all. He annoys me.
To me,
he's great.
It's a man. It's a man. Of course, he doesn't.
No, it's nothing to do with the fact that he's a man. He just annoys me.
To me, he is the funniest character in anime for years. He is absolutely hilarious, because it sounds like the voice actor, Mr. Miyano, is giving so much effort into every single line. It sounds like he is having an absolute ball.
For people who like their JRPGs, who like them in their actual Japanese voices, he is the voice actor of Ryuji in Persona 5, and this is him playing Ryuji as a manager, which I find hilarious.
He's insane.
Oh, man. That's a really good description.
I've never played Persona 5, so yes. I mean, I know, I've literally got Lewis's, and it is Steelbox edition of Persona 5 in my hand now.
Yes.
Well, the problem is I'm currently playing... and I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
What was... Okay, the second one's acceptable. What was the first?
Nier Automata.
Okay, that's also acceptable.
Fair enough.
You picked two of my favourite games of recent time.
There
Jesus,
we go.
You motherfucker.
There we go. Anyway, as you can see, Zombieland Saga has split us up quite considerably in terms of what we think about it. So it's one of those shows that actually you might think is really good, you might think is particularly bad, you might like it, you might not. I would instead, since we've kind of seemed to have hit that impasse, I would like to talk about shows that we can genuinely say are terrible.
Whoa. I believe Joe had a point.
Oh, sorry, Joe. Sorry.
No, it's not much of one. I mainly agree with Hugh on all of his points. I really like music in shows, so I did actually want them to carry on any kind of musical theme in Zombieland Saga, but I wanted them to just do a different one each episode, and parody it. So yeah. I love the parody metal. I love the parody rapping. Seeing the first title thing was okay, as you said. I thought they were doing it ironically. Second episode, not so much. I realized I was going to be carrying on. I really did just want to see them try different things this time, and I thought that would have made it even better. I still enjoy it as a show, and I'm going to carry on watching.
Oh no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, looking at it all, I think you're bang on there with it, Joe.
It's just, I do understand it's also very difficult to try and parody a different thing every single episode, because they do at some point have to have some skill in that.
I would have liked to point out how I... Oh, gone.
After 24 episodes, they really run out of material, must be said.
I would like to say it's an anime original as well, and I always have some originals, because in this genre, in this current climate, you don't get many anime originals unless you're like a massive big budget studio, because they're not guaranteed money counts.
And we all know how that turned out this year.
Well, speaking of big budget studios, can I actually sideline us, because we're doing so well for time, for a minute, for one that I realised no one put on the list?
Go on.
Which is what?
Castlevania.
Can we talk about 4S.Gridman?
Well, you talk about it. I have no. I know it's made by Trigger, but I have not watched it.
And here comes Hugh's controversial opinion of the day again. I didn't like it.
Which is fair.
I didn't like... It's not good.
It's very different from everything else Trigger has ever done.
It's not
good. Tell me if Trigger do the same plot twist, and then I might watch it.
It's not even one of those shows where I didn't enjoy it, but I can see why people would like it. I watched it and I thought, this just isn't good. I genuinely just didn't think it was good. I'm sorry. And that's just my opinion. I just didn't think it was a good show.
No, it's a fair opinion.
I thought it was banking on nostalgia I didn't have.
It's basically guy wakes up with no memories, goes to school like normal, but then keeps having these flashes of this giant robot mecha thing. Monster comes and attacks. He ends up piloting giant robot mecha with some other people. Defeats giant monster. Most of town is destroyed. They wake up the next day. So then here's the bit that actually got me. Everything's rebuilt. No one remembers what the fuck happened, but the people that died in it died, and they're just gone. They're just missing.
I think I should remember reading about this fucking ages ago. I thought it was a really dumbass premise.
I think that's the problem. The problem is it's a sequel or slash soft reboot to the Gridman series, which is an old series from Japan that was the kaiju genre. Essentially the people get into rubber suits and walk around a giant stage and punch people genre.
Yeah,
and I think the issue is, and I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to hit it on the table and watch it as it rolls around everywhere. I think the issue is, I love my Godzilla. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my Godzilla. I've got absolutely no nostalgia for the kaiju genre whatsoever, and as a result, Gridman did nothing for me. I like Godzilla, and I like the concept
How many
of
episodes
kaiju.
did you watch?
I watched 3.
Ah, okay.
I did the 3-episode thing, and it just nothing, unfortunately, for me. I wasn't disappointed because I didn't realize it was Trigger until the end of the first episode. And usually with Trigger shows, I'm a bit more hyped up because I've liked everything that Trigger's done so far, like in different aspects. But this is the first one that I've sat down and gone, no, not doing it for me in any capacity, unfortunately.
See, I'm intrigued. Is the thing with this show, which is one I'm not really usually with a Trigger show. Usually I'm like, whoa, hype visuals, yeah, whoa, hype shit going on, whoa. This one genuinely has me intrigued as to what's going on, because every episode seems to add a new layer to the mystery. And I'm actually interested in what's going on, because it doesn't seem to follow the Trigger basic bullshit mythology.
I've just noticed it's only 12 episodes, so it can't do the Trigger traditional plot twist halfway through where it goes, aliens!
So what you're telling me is it's only half a fun. And that joke died.
Well, I think it's because your line cut off on my end, so I didn't hear the punchline.
My punchline, I said, which means it's half a full run.
That's what I figured after about 10 seconds. Yeah.
Painless.
I might watch it when it's like done and I've seen people's overall opinion of it. Like,
if I'm being honest, find it playing Grand Order.
I find it. I find it a weird one because it's one where I'm intrigued, but I'm not necessarily hyped every episode. And it's like, I watch it because I want to know what's going on. And I've never had that with a Trigger series before.
I can understand where you're coming
from.
And
I've never had Trigger do anything where I've sat there and gone, I want to know what happens next. However, every Trigger series, I'm usually like, whoa, yeah, hype battles, woo, look at me, I'm an 8-year-old.
You see, the problem is, I did that with Darling in the Franxx, where I was going, hang on a minute, what is this? I'm interested. And I did the whoa, woo, hype battles, I'm 8 years old again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Darling in the Franxx nosedived.
Well, I think the problem is, again...
I luckily missed Darling in the Franxx. I watched the first 4 episodes and then picked up everything through Memes on Reddit.
It was basically either Memes or me telling him the plot.
Basically, the problem was with this show is it just has not grabbed me in any capacity. It's banking on nostalgia that I don't have, and it doesn't do anything.
See, I don't think it's banking on nostalgia. I think it's working on it's playing on a genre Japan loves so well, and one that's hit the West incredibly well as well.
Then where the fuck is my tentacle porn?
Mate, what the fuck are you on about?
The only thing
like the most common hentai.
The only thing I will say is I have heard.
These days there's barely any NTR. Nothing for me.
I have heard
barely any NTR.
Yeah, sad.
Can I finish?
Yeah,
No.
go ahead.
No, we're gonna
Do it
talk
on my
about,
face.
we're gonna talk about NTR for the next hour.
Please don't.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, let's just move on then. Shall we talk about actual terrible series?
So now we're going to round off this podcast. We're talking about shows that are so bad that they're actually good.
Right.
Because they're
Which
bad.
one do you want me to start with? Do you want me to start with...
So High
Pause It
School
in
DxD.
It's not airing this season, and it's great, so shut up.
Do you want me, shall we start with Pause It and It's Funny, or should we start with I Am the Only One in the Entire World Still Watching?
No, I'm
I
still
don't
watching
know.
that one, by the way.
I'm not gonna lie, mate. I don't know which of those is the one that we both watch while you live tweet it.
The live tweet is I'm the one who's still watching it.
Oh, you're wrong, my friend. I sit there and rewatch when you're done.
Ah, perfect. Right, let's start with that one then.
I pick the scraps of your remains, Hugh.
Right. Right.
Oh no.
Right. For those of you who do not know, obviously everyone who's listening to this will not know this. Every single
No, they will, because everyone that's listening to us, this is each of us.
True. Basically, every Wednesday since the first episode aired, and I've done this occasionally. I occasionally live tweet shows. I like live tweeting shows. I think it's funny. I
Did
started
it ever
off
since with me, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
started off with Lewis, and it was with
Magical Girl Site.
It was Magical Girl Site. And then I've occasionally
Glorious.
I've occasionally just kind of done it there. And I found what I consider to be my magnum opus this season with Between the Sky and the Sea. Between the Sky and the Sea is a show about space fishing. It's absolutely dreadful, and I live tweet every single episode and laugh my tits off every single time. And it's got to the point now where I live tweet it and Ben pisses himself laughing reading the live tweets and joins in. It's great. This show is trash.
Average rating of 2 stars on Crunchyroll, if anyone's interested.
It has a score on my enemy list. I have it up of 8-9, and my enemy list is like 6.5 to 7. It is trash. It's so bad that it has come round and been good again, because every single episode is so formulaic and so funny that I can pick everything that's going to happen and make fun of it when it starts happening. I thought, okay, space fishing, funny premise. Then it started to go a bit weirder with the whole idea of we're fishing in space because there's no fish left on Earth. Where did the fish go? We don't know. Okay. Then the space fishing got
Weird
even
flex, but okay.
Then we got even further with the fact that the fish they're fishing are like hypercharged fish that are huge. Then we got to the point where we were like, okay, how do they catch the fish then? Well, they use these little submarines, okay, and an app that lets them summon a god. I'm sorry, what? And this show has just continued to get worse and worse and worse and worse as I've watched it, and it's so funny because of it. It is the worst show I have watched in its entirety, or at least I'm planning to watch in its entirety, since, I think, Knights and Masks. And Knights and Masks is a show that no one here, I'm betting, has watched.
I have no idea what that is.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how bad Knights and Masks was. No one even knows it. Knights and Masks was hilarious. Worse than Grand Order.
Big.
Genuinely, this is worse than Big Order. This is worse. Big Order had a plot. This doesn't.
I mean, I like the fact they said it's worse than Grand Order, which I think was definitely fucking like a subconscious fucking cry for help.
Oh no, it was. It was absolutely a subconscious. But genuinely, like, are you then?
Yes.
Alastair, did you say you're also watching?
No, I thought you were talking about the other one.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the other one later. So Ben, your thoughts on this terrible piece of trash?
Right. It's clearly a deep-seated, like, it's all a metaphor for the Korean working society working on their fish farms, but they can't work on the fish farms.
Did you just say fish farm?
I was going to pull that up.
The fact that you don't know what a fish farm is
It speaks, frankly, is actually quite racist, I think, yeah.
Speaks to the stuff you're into.
My ignorance of the average Korean man.
A fish farm is a thing.
It is.
You're right, Ben. Are you dying?
No, he's dead.
I'm dying.
We're all dying.
I'll jump over from him. Or instead of doing that,
No, I know he's playing.
now he's just playing up for the camera.
Yeah.
What camera? This is not a visual podcast.
Just assume instead of coughing, I told them a really funny
Assume you're
joke.
coming.
Or what it actually is, which is an advert for a mobile game.
No, it's not an advert for a mobile game, Hugh. It's a perfectly amazing show about girls, and all they want to do is catch fish in their cleavage, which I'm waiting for being revealed as the ultimate technique. And that's how they end up winning.
What?
The thing is, it's not an ecchi show. Alistair's interested. It's not an ecchi.
Oi, oi! There's any of them lads, is there?
Oi,
No,
oi,
you
oi,
doing this one?
Oi, cleavage! Someone say cleavage, I'm in.
Come here.
Come here, lass.
That sounds like Jobu to me.
Come on, hey doll, can I have some more bread over here?
I feel fucking kimochi.
Oh, fuck me, that's no Rias, but that surely is an Akino.
I'm quite into my sundays.
Let's be honest here, boys. If on a scale of Saber to Reed, she's definitely a Makoto. I don't know.
What the fuck is going
on
on?
a scale of Oscar to Ray, she's definitely a fucking Karu. Wait!
This was a conversation the other evening.
Let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen. If it was Kyrie playing a piano, you wouldn't have it. But the moment it's Red, I'll have that lad.
Oh, wait.
Anyway, the show.
I like my women, I like my men shaped like N64 controllers.
Man, Shinsekai Yori, partway through the episode, oh man, two women making out. I fucking love this show. 2 minutes later, oh, what are those men doing? This is the worst ever.
What's
fucking 10?
What's this banana fish faggotry?
We all know that.
What the fuck?
Oh god, are we done with space fishing?
Yeah, other one.
Yes, probably, yes.
Right,
We're not going to talk about American Spy Chan or the.
Oh, okay.
Right, at this point, we are explaining the show.
All right,
let's just fucking.
So we're not going into the ultimate chat.
No, we're not.
We're not going to
let the cunts watch it if they want to.
Watch it. It's funny. Moving on to the second and I think final show we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every anime watcher's life where a show is made on so low a budget that it can create a meme simply through the act of pressing the pause button. My little sister is my writer. Is this generation's Mona Lisa?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Do you really just have to use the words Mona Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, it's spouted some fucking trash.
It's bad. Like, literally, this is the terrible section. Basically, this is the culmination of the emoto genre. Because it's basically the emoto genre cashing in on itself in such a half-assed way that it literally doesn't care what it looks like. And at this point, Alastair, I want you to start putting up images of the episode. So start off with the one where our eyes are about 15 foot apart. Then I want you right now to put the one where she's derping out with like a weird smiley face. There you go. This is what the show looks like. It's terrible.
Basically, the show is, imagine if you had Ero Manga Sensei, but with bad budget and bad.
Oh no! It is not going into Ero Manga Sensei levels of I'm gonna put my dick in my sister's tight little underage pussy.
Christ!
It's diving. It's diving balls deep.
We know. I'm sorry. The sister wants it.
All right, Alastair.
It's diving balls deep into
that needs to all be censored.
Fucking Christ!
There'll just be a segment of beep, 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 beep.
I'm putting in chat now. I didn't realise that this was Ben when he was fucking watching Ero Manga Sensei. Like Christ,
mate, I've not even watched Ero Manga Sensei. It's
fine if your imagination does the rest for you.
This show is more like I've already done that, and dear God, did I fuck her up so bad her eyes have now gone about 20 centimeters either side of her head.
It's so bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's so bad. It's really bad. It's funny bad, though. Again, it's The Room. It's funny bad because everyone making this, I think, gave up. Because literally, you will get shots, and like I'm talking, like I'm trying to make this sound like from what we're saying, it sounds like you pause it and we get an in between frame. We're not talking about in between frames.
We're talking every time we pause.
We're talking not just every time we pause, but we're talking faces of characters that the camera stays on for a good 2 to 3 seconds of them making these faces. It's fucking funny.
We're talking about keyframes here.
Yeah. We are. This is
Sell me those keyframes.
Oh my word! It's literally. I would buy them.
Pay more than any Miyazaki original.
I would pay money for these keyframes. I genuinely would. And this is own Violet Evergarden keyframes. I would pay money for these keyframes.
Well, you've already paid money for these keyframes.
Well, I mean, I would pay money for the My Little Sister is a writer keyframes.
Oh, no.
No, technically
you're
everybody
implying
who has a
it's not
Crunchyroll
on the
subscription
same
has
level.
paid for these keyframes.
I suppose.
In some respects.
Yeah, definitely. It's trash. It's complete and total trash. And literally, I wanted to bring this up within this podcast just to show you just how bad this show is and to encourage you to go and watch this because, ladies and gentlemen, I want more shows that are this bad to laugh at because this is a conversation that we had a couple of days ago. But, ladies and gentlemen, isn't everything so much better when you have something bad to compare it to?
Yes.
I will cut myself so I can appreciate how good life is.
Oh dear, inside jokes on the podcast.
It's perfectly fine. Dracula loses the end of Castlevania. Who'd have fucking thought? 20-year-old game.
Oh dear. Simon Belmont's in Smash.
The main character uses a whip like in every fucking game.
Alucard turns into a wolf. There's a really good female character. 2 of them, actually.
Pinata Plaza is the final revealed character for Smash Brothers.
Piranha.
It's fucking Waluigi!
Literally, Alastair.
Yeah.
When Joe says Piranha, end podcast.
Okay.
What, P.E. Piranha?
No, literally. Pinata Plaza. Okay, should we do the end? Okay, let's do the ending.
No, it's fine. It's done now.
We are wrapping up this podcast now. Thank you for listening.
Fuck off!
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Now, go away.
I love you, viewers.
You're not Charlie Brooker.
I love you, viewers. I hope your day is going well. You should watch Castlevania. I wasn't allowed to talk about it.
You should watch Castlevania.
We'll get to it at some point.
It's really good.
It's great. Brilliant.
Gives me hope.
Bye.
Bye.